evening. Welcome back to Community Crossfire. I'm Councilwoman Zanthia Oliver. I represent the 3rd District. I have a special guest on tonight who really needs no introduction because everybody in the state knows her. However, I will allow her to introduce herself and tell her title and all that good stuff.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Lockman. I am the state senator for also the 3rd District, so Delaware's 3rd Senatorial District, and I a resident of Bayard Square neighborhood here in Wilmington and lifelong Wilmingtonian.
Senator Lockman, when you say the 3rd District, what does that cover? I mean, I know it's a lot. So
yeah,
what
and it changed, right? Just
right.
When we did redistricting in 2022 after the 2020 census, we saw some shifts. So I know I have actually the largest share of Wilmington in the 3rd District. So it's really, to me, everything that you would consider to be the west side, which is where I grew up. So all the neighborhoods there. It's also downtown and the riverfront, a big chunk of the east side as well. And then now, since some of the border changes, we actually go down Route 13 a little bit. So we have, like the DHSS campus, and
really?
All the way down there.
All the way down that far?
Mm-hmm. We go out Maryland Avenue, all the way to the Newport Industrial Park and some of the neighborhoods down there out in the county. And also a little bit up Lancaster Avenue as well. So like all those corridors kind of going south out of the city. I have some territory. So it's geographically one of the smaller districts, but we are very dense. We are incredibly diverse. It is, in my opinion, the best senatorial district in the state.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on. I know you have a busy schedule, and I'm always trying to bug you all.
I know, that's right.
Finally caught you one day. I know education is your top priority.
Yes.
How are you hoping to deliver a change in the education system? Because right now, it just seems to be a little bit everywhere, and it's confusing for people. So what are some of the changes?
No, thank you for recognizing that and asking me that. So, it's a very hard area in which to make reform because, we all feel like experts because we've all gone to school, right? But lately, I think, there's a strong recognition that we are stuck in a place that a lot of people are dissatisfied with when it comes to the quality, particularly of our public schools. And I am a public school grad, and I think public schools are the most important thing that we can strengthen for everybody's good. So, what I've been working on since I came into office is a project called the Reading Consortium for Educational Equity. I'm very, very proud of it. We aren't necessarily out in the limelight all the time with it, but we've been working very, very hard to make sure that we have the data that we need to advance reforms to best serve students, families, and educators, and particularly looking at our schools in the city of Wilmington. So we've actually, leveraged that body to bring, over $30 million of resources into the city in a few ways. We've expanded preschool seats through the ECAP program. We now have added about 500 slots for ECAP across the city. We've also provided resources that districts have been able to tap into to expand wraparound services. So that could be wellness supports, it could be after school summer programs, that kind of thing. And we're also looking at developing a data dashboard that shows disparities through a racial lens. So we've been doing a lot of really solid work there that I'm very, very proud of, and I'm sure I left a few things off of our list because we've got
that's a lot.
We got a lot of wonderful people at that table bringing wonderful ideas. So if folks are not familiar with the Reading Consortium, I would urge them to look us up. Our website is Solutions for Delaware Schools, and we would just absolutely welcome you at our table to bring ideas.
Could you repeat that?
Sure.
That address, the email, so if anyone's interested in looking up the Reading Consortium, could you give them that again? solutionsfordelawareschools.com, and now I think is a wonderful time to get involved. We have been talking about redistricting. So redistricting when it comes to school districts and looking at where the lines of our school districts are as it pertains to the city of Wilmington. You mentioned things have been very confusing. We've been cut into this sort of awkward pie for a very long time, and we've had very disparate results across the different districts that serve the city of Wilmington. Some of the different charter schools that have come and gone and had varying levels of success. And we're really trying to take a look at all these experiences that we have had for just decades and decades and decades and chart a path forward. And we think that one of the best things we can do is do
more coherent, something more coherent when it comes to how we govern those schools. So we've been looking at consolidating and reducing the number of school districts that serve the city as an initial step to help us bring some other significant reforms, whether it's expanding early childhood opportunities, all kinds of things that I'm sure anyone who gets excited about education, as I do, could list some of the big ideas we'd like to bring in for our students, for our educators. So
Whoa.
that's going to be the big project for the next couple of years, and just more to come, and that I hope people are able to tap in and support that work.
So when you have your Reading Consortium meetings, are they public?
They are.
Okay. So whenever you get a list of them, if you could forward it to me so I could just share with the viewers. Do you have one coming up soon?
Yeah, I think our next broad public meeting is going to be in December. We usually meet sort of on an every other month basis, but there will also be other opportunities that are going to be public facing as we're doing a very large scale landscape analysis, which we spoke about at our last meeting in September, that will have a lot of public engagement. So,
Okay.
So just go to that website and you'll be able to see all the calendar stuff, and but our next big public meeting will be in December.
Oh, great. I know y'all doing a lot of good work. A lot of hard work, because it's a lot when you're talking about decades and trying to catch up and, change a lot of things around. So, kudos to y'all.
Thank you for your support.
You're up for election, but without an opponent. We know you've got 4 more years to go. So can you tell us what you want people to know about some of your other priorities?
Thank you. So, I've been out there knocking some doors, and I tell folks I'm up for election, but I don't have an opponent, so you've got me for 4 more years. But, just looking to refresh the agenda.
That's right.
As I said, obviously education is huge for me, and it will continue to be something I spend a lot of my time on. I think that's something we can really deliver at the state level for folks who are here in the 3rd District, but all of Wilmington. But the things that I hear the most as well have really been focused around housing, or particularly when it comes to folks who are unhoused in the city. And, I think I'm hearing frequently at civic meetings and conversations I'm having with neighbors that people feel like they're seeing an uptick in the numbers of unhoused, and maybe folks who we can tell are out there struggling with substance use disorder. So really, I've been trying to focus energy on what can I do to improve our situation when it comes to providing affordable, accessible, quality housing wherever you fall on the scale. And that's very strongly a local issue, so
Yes.
just figuring out how I can work with folks like you and other members of council and folks at the county level, so that we are all working as a team to make sure that whatever I can do at the state level, that we are not a barrier,
Right.
and any resources that I can bring to you all and to the community, so that we can start to see the trend going the other way. So that's something that's very important to me. I see that as just a major force for economic opportunity that we all want to see. And then public safety is always a major conversation. I spent 4 years working on some common sense gun legislation that finally made it to the finish line this past year. So that's going to be implemented. So hopefully everything in the state's so much slower, right? So we're a few years away from seeing the results of a reduction in illegal firearms flowing into our streets. So we got that legislation done. And we also, we kind of had a rocky start to doing police reform around transparency and accountability with our law enforcement, and making some changes in the state code around that. So I think you could see us looking some more at could we take any further steps. We made a small tweak to what used to be called LEABOR, and now it's called PodPat.
Right.
And so just
I was glad y'all looked
be-
into that board.
Yeah.
I was really glad.
Yeah, and I think we took a step forward. It might not have been as big of a step as many of us would have liked, but that's state policy making for you sometimes. But I think that will continue to be a focus, so that we can make sure that everyone feels safe in their communities from, whether that's from gun violence, and certainly not wanting people to feel that they have to be fearful of law enforcement.
Right.
that's unacceptable. So we want to make sure we can.
And I like what you said. Sometimes it's, being a legislator, you have to take baby steps to get to the big steps.
Yeah.
But at least you're working on it. At least, you have a voice in it. At least you're trying. And I know as a legislator on your level, people expect you to change the world. And I
expect me to change the world too, but I just,
well, you're not doing a bad job.
You start to realize that sometimes it does take longer. I think I do have somewhat of the virtue of being patient. I'm just learning to not be too patient either. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes we can maybe get a little too used to the status quo and we don't push as hard as we could. And so I'm trying to find that right balance between patience and, going for it.
Well, you seem to be doing a very good job. You've always been very supportive of the 3rd District on the east side. Whenever I've called you, your secretary and your assistants have always been there. And the people on the east side know who you are. I always mention your name. You've helped me out with several projects, and I've always attached your name to everything. And I have several other questions. Have they changed? No. What are some of your accomplishments? I know you mentioned some. Yeah. But it's just so many more. What are you most proud of? Give me 2 that you're most proud of.
I mean, I think all the things that I mentioned in terms of our baby step on, on PodPat, certainly the gun legislation was a very big deal, and the Reading Consortium work and the resources that we are bringing continually into the city there. But I am actually I've been serving in leadership for the past 2 sessions. I hope to continue to do that. And so it really makes me very proud to be able to be a part of the leadership of the Senate.
That's right.
It's kind of, like
a
being
female
co-captain of the team, right? And I think that helps me make sure that our values and our interests as Wilmington residents, and obviously I also represent people, just outside of the city as well. So greater Wilmington residents will say that those values and interests are represented at that level. So that's been really very exciting. I'm really proud to be able to do that.
Now that you said that, how is it being in leadership, being one of the head people and females in charge? I mean, was it difficult and has things changed, or? I mean, I know everybody accepted you, but sometimes you get into a job and you feel like, oh my God, what have I got myself into?
Always, especially in politics, you know this.
So, I mean,
I've gotten more used to it.
Okay.
I think, as women of color, it can always be, you sort of feel your way through that. How much are you really accepted and embraced, and how loud can you be before people start saying you're being too angry or whatever, or questioning, your expertise. So I think, sometimes it's the others in the environment that you're in, but sometimes you're questioning yourself and putting yourself in that place. So now that I've been doing it for a few years, I'm just learning to trust my expertise, particularly my expertise on what the people I represent need. That's right. And just finding the strength to voice that and to question my peers, because as senators, as representatives and senators, we are all peers. So I think we just have to always remember that, particularly as women of color, to raise our voices, to trust our instincts, and know that usually we are the ones there in the moment to make things happen. That's right. And just not to forget that. So I'm still learning. I'm still practicing that. I'm sure we all are. But yeah. So. I am very lucky to be serving with 2 other senators in leadership, Senator Dave Sokola and Senator Brian Townsend, who include me in everything. So I've gotten to learn a lot about how these things work.
And both of them are nice guys.
They are very nice guys.
I remember Sokola from years ago, so he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Both of them. And they've always been very nice. When I worked down there, I think he was a newbie.
It's a good team.
I'm proud of you. I stand on your shoulders. I look up to you. And I mean, when I watch y'all and I listen to y'all on Zoom, and sometimes I go on and listen, and it looks like it's a nice team down there. It is. You ain't going to agree on all legislation, but
it looks like y'all really have like a, and if you don't, nobody sees it. So put it like that, whatever you do. But I mean, you look like it's a nice sort of family in the Senate, you know?
I think so. I think right now, you know, we are very lucky. We have such a diverse group of folks in our Senate caucus in particular, the majority, just everyone you could think of. Now, we have a couple members who
are
winning statewide races and I think are moving on. So, you know, I'm very hopeful that we can keep that going. But, you know, there's going to be a lot of change in Dover. You know, whether it's in the House and their leadership.
So you have two over in the Senate. Senator McBride. And Senator
D.C.
Gay.
and Senator Gay, you know, making her way to the Lieutenant Governor's office. I mean, so she'll still be in the chamber because she has to preside. But,
okay, cool. I mean, congratulations to both of them. Very nice women.
It shows the kind of, I think, talent that we've had in our caucus, which has made us very effective at getting things done.
I agree. What is your suggestion regarding the children and district, Christine especially, with such low grades? I was with a parent, you know, just talking about her son's grades, and then I went into school, and then she brought that up, and I talked to a couple of the counselors, and then I just looked at the numbers. I mean, it's very disappointing.
It's shocking.
It is.
I mean, I don't even know if I can really say I'm shocked anymore, but it just...
Yes, right. I mean,
no,
so what's, I mean, you know, B. Coker said something and it just stuck with me. Like, you know, even as teachers, substitutes, they should be stewards, you know, to our youth. And I just don't think that's a profession that should be played with.
Absolutely.
And I know it's a shortage. I get all of that. But if you come in that classroom, if you don't know something, ask somebody. I'm not even sure that I would put it on the shoulders of the educators themselves. I know so many educators who work so hard in every school in every district, and that, you know, in some ways goes double for the Christina School District. I agree.
I think that we have kind of saddled that school district with a design, you know, the way it's split into two pieces, one little piece in the city and another, you know, larger piece out in Newark that exists almost nowhere else. You don't really see school districts that are split like that. I think there's like a handful of examples in the country, and there's a reason for that. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, that's a good point.
And so there's a lot that we have put on that district to handle. It's that configuration that is very awkward.
Gotcha. Good point.
A lot of low-income communities, both in the city and the county, like some of our most low-income communities, where you obviously are going to be bringing a lot of you know, struggle in from the streets into the building. And, you know, and I think they've also historically carried the weight of a lot of our programs for specialized populations, so students who are differently abled and things like that. We've been shifting some of the weight of that away from them more recently. But so I just hate to put it this way, but I mean, I think if you wanted to design a school district to fail, you would design it this way. It just does not make sense. With the resources that they're given, that some of the other dynamics they have, you know, you can look at like Newark Charter School has taken many of their students away. Students are choicing into other school districts entirely. And then you just got left with all of this.
Yeah. But I mean, I know back in the day you would, what they called IP would maybe be on this floor, you know, separate from, you know, some of the other students. And just to put all these students together and it's bothering, and then
it's not working.
It's not working, and then you have these. I was always against like 8th graders in there with teen. I just think a middle school should be a middle school. I could see some of the elementary, you know, in there, and I don't see how elementary gets on the 3rd floor. I would think they would be on the 1st floor, and maybe they're 7th to 8th. But I never could see, you know, somebody 14 or somebody 15 in a school with 8th graders. I mean, that's understandable. I mean, it's just weird.
It is weird, and we've given them a difficult hand to play with, and then I think we have allowed that hand to attempt to be played for a long time. But at the end of the day,
I'm glad y'all acknowledging it.
Yeah, it's not a game for our children, and it's been a ridiculously long time. I think that we've allowed so many of our students' academic generations of students to flounder. And so that's why the Reading Consortium did call for last May our sort of pre-redistricting proposals, that the one thing we can all agree on is that the Christina School District, that footprint in the city, should cease to be. That Christina should come out of the city, and we should figure out a different path forward for that footprint. Someone else should manage
and I liked when I think you mentioned that before. Someone else should manage that. and period.
Right, and it'll allow perhaps an opportunity for renewal for the Christina School District. I think that's the I'm really focused on the Wilmington piece, so I would say that's their business.
Right.
But for us, I think, when it comes to that Wilmington footprint, I think we can chart a new course that will get things on the right trajectory, and we desperately need to do
enhance
that.
it all. Yeah, I agree. But I would like to give you kudos for supporting the new school to come into Wilmington.
The higher education?
Yeah, the higher education. So I'm really impressed, and I'm happy to see the changes that's going to be made. You're talking about nursing.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting opportunity, and I know that.
Let's talk about that. What's the name of that project?
So I think it's called the Bridge. That's my understanding of the title.
The Brace Bridge.
So it's in one of the old Bracebridge buildings, the former MBNA and Bank of America, and so those have kind of emptied out.
Yeah, they've been empty for 15 years.
Yes.
Okay.
And I work in one of them. I'm an instructor at the Community Education Building for the Associates in Arts program for UD. So I think that's been a good utilization of one of those buildings. And so the proposal is to, I guess, grow that, build on that, and bring more higher education institutions in particular into an additional building.
Small campus, pretty much. What is a nursing program?
I think that Delaware State University, I believe, is looking at bringing a nursing program. I think the UD is looking to move the associates program over. That's my understanding. But I think the really big story is the idea that Widener, who's now out on 202, they have a whole campus, is looking to bring their facility to that building as well. Okay. And I do think it's a very exciting opportunity. When I first heard about it, the folks behind it were describing it as something that could be done with continuity, looking at what's going on in K-12 in the city, looking at what's going on with early childhood education in the city, that there is something amazing about having law students, nursing students in the midst of our communities and our neighborhoods. We hope, it's a high rise, but they're going to be moving around and in and out on the streets. We want our young people to see that and be able to aspire to that and know that is right there in their backyard, that they, can follow a path and hopefully have the right pathways, whether that's at Howard or even earlier in their trajectory, that will lead them to medicine or law or whatever that might be. So I think it's very, very positive. And I know whenever we see the dollar figures attached to these things, it always, knocks us out.
And I think that's what, a lot of people were, Wilmington's giving up this money. It's a $55 million project.
Right.
So
it's a fraction of it.
It's just a little fraction of it.
And the state's put in, from our bond bill and from ARPA, I think about a little over $23 million. So it's
everybody's pitching in with the Longwood Foundation. It's just so many other people that are investing in the city, and you just said a mouthful. All these different people, all these different entities working together, and our youth are going to see these individuals, all these different faces, and when you see something that looks good, you want to do better.
Sure.
And then you have the CB building right there, and you have all of the minority children right there. Look at that impact that's going to take. You're going to see lawyers. You're going to see higher education right next door to you.
Yeah, and I think it's great, that people are thinking ahead to say, how are we going to make sure that this does benefit those small children? How are we going to make sure it benefits our communities? And I think we should be asking those questions. And I think that we, particularly we as elected officials, need to hold the project's feet to the fire to make sure that they do have connections to the community, that they are serving the community in the daily workings of their educational institutions. That's what any educational institution should be doing.
And look at all the revenue it's going to generate for the city of Wilmington. You have 2,600 people walking around town. So that's going to help where we don't have to increase our taxes or, wage taxes. So we're getting some money from other resources.
Yeah, I think I think people just have a sense that it's a zero-sum game and that we can't invest in some needs as well as do this. And I think they might be right that it's always much more visible when we make these kinds of investments. And shouldn't be a zero-sum game. We should be able to do both more sort of neighborhood-based investments in our residents, as well as these opportunities to bring, programs and stuff like that to the community.
Well, one thing to me was a no-brainer. The building's been vacant for 15 years, so
that's
up. It wasn't doing anything. And another
zero.
thing, I mean, I'm down Newark a lot on Main Street. I remember when University of Delaware was expanding, and I didn't hear a whole lot of rhetoric that I'm hearing now. I mean, because it was for higher education. So we're bringing higher education in the city of Wilmington, and I'm hearing not a lot of rhetoric. I mean, it's some legitimate questions, but some of it is just, to me, it doesn't make sense when you're trying to bring something positive to the city.
And
to enhance it. It's good.
I think anything that can help us, reinvigorate our identity, right? And we just lost DCAD. That was such a shock to everyone. We do have that DSU location on the riverfront. I think the idea that we could have higher ed kind of stretching through our city and adding vibrancy is a positive thing that we should support, and hope that pays dividends that can be invested into our community.
Could you give our audience your email or your secretary's, because he's cutting us off?
We're getting the hook.
We're getting the hook.
I can be reached at elizabeth.lockman@delaware.gov, and let me see if I can pull up my office number here. I'll have to get that to you to put up on a nice little picture on the screen. But I'll make sure my office number is out there. And I'm on Facebook, so you can always send me a message on Facebook as well.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, this was
fun.
good. I have to bring you back.
We should do this again.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for all that great information. We will be right back with Community Crossfire. Thank you so much.
You got to pay back. Revenge.
Good evening. Welcome back to Community Crossfire. I'm Councilwoman Zanthia Oliver, represent the 3rd District, and I have some special guests on this evening. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, but before I do that, I would like to welcome everybody to the reparation meeting, which will be held at William Hicks Anderson Center. It's up on the screen. It's going to be Saturday, October the 19th from 1 until 2:30. And at this meeting, we will be discussing education and housing, disparity, and recommendations. The guest speakers will be former Mayor Jim Baker, Brother Dwight Davis, and Miss Beatrice B. Coker. So that's going to be a reparations meeting at William Hicks Anderson. It's up on the screen, Saturday, October the 19th, between 1 and 2:30. A lot of people think reparation is all about money, but it's not always about money. It's about other things that we can do to improve our community. City Council passed a reparation committee. The committee passed a booklet, and it was a lot of recommendations in there. So this is one of our official meetings, and this one is around education and housing disparities. Thank you so much. So we're going to get back to our program. It is Breast Cancer Month, so we have some young ladies on here that we're going to discuss Breast Cancer Month. Starting with you now, could you tell them your name, our audience, your name, and your title, please?
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Nia Imani Bailey, and I'm a radiation therapist.
Good afternoon. My name is Lakia Belcher. I am an educator, but I'm also living with metastatic breast cancer.
Okay, Lakia, I'm going to start with you. How are you a metastatic breast cancer survivor? Tell us what that means, and tell us a little bit about your story, because we only have a short period. So.
Okay, so metastatic breast cancer means that I have breast cancer that has traveled outside of the breast. It is considered stage 4. It is a terminal diagnosis. So instead of we say survivor, we say thriving, because there is no cure right now for metastatic breast cancer.
And I was going to mention, when it said thriver, I was going to say, why would you say thriver? But you just answered that.
Yes, ma'am.
And I do know it's about cancer cells spreading out. I have a friend who's been diagnosed like last like about maybe a month ago, so I'm going in to support her. But and we'll get back to that. So now, why is this topic so Dr. Bailey, why is this topic so important to you?
It is so important to me because we find that Black and brown women get diagnosed with aggressive breast cancer, like my friend Lakia. You know, when she found out, did you even know that you had breast cancer?
Not at all.
You know?
And it doesn't run in my family.
And we don't even know that. Sometimes we think that breast cancer is only genetic, but
Keep talking this way so
sorry.
we can see. That's okay.
Breast cancer is only genetic, but that's not the case. Genetic breast cancer only makes up about 5 to 10% of breast cancer. So what is that? My math is not mathing, but about 85% is not genetic. So it's so important to me because I have lost so many family members. I've lost so many friends to this horrible disease. I lost a good friend of mine on my birthday this year, August 26th, and we lost another good friend of ours last Friday to metastatic breast cancer.
Well, one thing about you, Dr. Bailey, I remember before when we did the screening, you always said it was important for us to, as females, to get a diagnosis, to go for a screening early. And what did you mean by that? Is that what do you say? What is the earliest an individual, female, on your suggestion to go get a breast cancer examination?
It actually depends. So if I was diagnosed at the age of 28 years old, then my son or daughter can start getting mammograms at the age of 18. There's a 10-year difference. But I also always encourage, and so does Lakia as well, to know your body, feel your body, know what it looks like. Look in the mirror and put your hands on your hips and see if the girls are sisters. They're not going to be identical, but if your nipple is pointing inward, that's not good. If it looks peely around the areola, that's not good. So look for signs and symptoms that is different to your norm, and that's what we always say. It's very important just to know your body and know yourself.
And I'll add, can I jump in?
Sure,
real quick?
sure.
I'll add that I found my own breast lump when I was 38 years old. And the only reason why I found it is because I did my monthly breast exams right around the same time that I had my menstrual cycle. Because you want to make sure that you're doing your exam consistently around the same time so that you can recognize the difference. So for me, when I did my self-exam, I felt it. And then I went to my husband, who also is familiar, and he also felt the lump. And then I called in reinforcements with my doctor. But the only reason why I caught it is because I was very aware of what my breast tissue felt like. And so I was able to identify a difference.
Okay, so that's very smart to constantly pay attention
Absolutely.
to your body and do. My sister Chevella works with Breast Cancer Association, and she's always encouraging that.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I do forget, and she's like, "Are you?" And I'm like, I used to say, like, why does she always remind me, you know? But
because
my mother,
it's important.
but my mother passed away from breast cancer, and it's important. And I'm saying that to say, I think I was scared. You know, I just didn't. I mean, but like you just don't.
That's the truth. A lot of us are
I'm
scared.
like, I don't want to do that because but you know, either you're going to do it or you're going to die. So
that is a good way to put it.
Yeah, either
Absolutely.
you're going to check yourself or you're going to die. If it's called early detection.
Early
right?
detection.
So Lakia, let me ask you, Lakia, why do you think Black women are disproportionately affected by breast cancer?
Well, there's a couple of reasons why we're not getting the support and the medical care that we need at the rate that we need it. One is because we're not going to the doctor, right? So I'm going to look first within. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not doing our self-breast exams. We're not sharing our medical history, which puts us on the back spectrum of getting support. The other issue is when we do go to the doctor, we're not being listened to and our voice isn't valued as much as our white counterparts. So we have
repeat that.
Our voice is not valued as much as our white counterparts.
Okay.
We're not taken as seriously as our white sisters out here. So
Okay.
the one thing that I encourage people to do is advocate for yourself. If you don't get the care that you need or you're not being heard, find someone else. And what I say all the time is we'll go to a restaurant, right? And we will order our meal and we'll send it right back if it's not the way we want it. But we don't have that same passion when it comes to our health care.
Good point.
So we need to be as adamant as we would about our steak and potatoes as our body. Because
I like
let's be
that.
honest, that food that nourishes us, if we're not here, doesn't matter. So we have to be willing to advocate and we have to be willing to speak up when something's not right, if we're not getting our care, and then call on our sisterhood. I have a very strong media presence, social media presence. Dr. Bailey has a strong media presence. We're able to encourage and support and also help our sisters that aren't feeling as strong and as vocal as they need to be. So we can give you the language, we can help you ask the right questions, and we can also help you find the right care. There are plenty of brown doctors that are willing to advocate on your behalf, which is why it worked for me.
Okay. Could you just give us your Facebook or however you just said it could be a support system, or if somebody wanted to ask any questions, could you please give us your email and also your Facebook page where somebody wanted to DM you or whatever?
Sure. My email is lakiabelcher@gmail. We're also working on a project that we will, I can never remember the email address, but if you find me at lakiabelcher@gmail, we can share out the information. Also, I'm Queen Belchy on Instagram. I'm Lakia Belcher on Facebook, and I'm also Queen Belchy on TikTok. But, you know, we share information on all platforms. Dr. Bailey, how can they find you?
Dr. Nee Imani, Bird Cancer Foundation. What else? Email, contact at drniaimanibailey.com. I know that was a long one, but just Instagram.
I did.
Right.
I did see your webpage, and it was very nice. Whoever put it together.
Thank you.
Dr. Bailey, how can women and men lower their risk of breast cancer?
That's a good question. So at Christiana, Helen F. Graham Cancer Center, we came up with an acronym. This beautiful woman by the name of Nicole Surratt, she said, people not gonna remember too much, but they will remember an acronym. So the acronym is named Brenda. B is breastfeed. You wanna breastfeed for about a year or longer. I mean, not until the child's 13, but breastfeed as long as you can. R, reduce your sugary intake and alcoholic intake. E, you want to eat nutritious foods. N, I did it backwards, but you want to exercise. D, you do not want to smoke anything. Hookah, vape, weed, hookah, vape, nothing.
Right.
And A, achieve a healthy body weight. So that acronym decreases your risk of getting breast cancer. Now, you can do all those things and still, unfortunately, get breast cancer, but it definitely decreases your risk at a higher rate.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
Brenda.
And,
I love Brenda.
Lakia, what needs to happen in order for women and men to live longer with metastatic breast cancer? What's one of your suggestions?
The medicine has to change, right? We have to be willing to participate in clinical trials in order to increase and change the science.
People scared, okay.
Right, because listen, clinical trials back in the day were considered experimenting on bodies, right? Black bodies. Everyone thinks about the Tuskegee Project. But clinical trials are highly regulated through the FDA, where we are not guinea pigs. We are actually doing the work of creating and finding new medications.
It's a new day.
Absolutely. The medication that I'm taking right now is because of a clinical trial. All of us that take a Tylenol, an aspirin, anything that you take, ibuprofen, went through a clinical trial. So when we think about the everyday things that we're willing to take, that we're willing to give our children, right, it's gone through a clinical trial. So we can be a part of the generation that helps move medicine forward by participating in very regulated, very regimented clinical trials. The other part is we have to take care of ourselves in and through a diagnosis, right? There are a lot of women that will get breast cancer that are able to ring the bell and become survivors, but they too have to continue to take care of themselves. As a woman living with metastatic breast cancer, not only do I have to follow the rules of Brenda, right, but I have to stay on top of my appointments. I have to take my medicine like I'm supposed to. I have to communicate with my doctor when something's going on that's different than the plan that we discussed. So I have to advocate for myself.
Gotcha.
Also, I have to stay educated, right? What's going on? What are the trends with Black women and breast cancer? What are the trends with metastatic cancer in Black women? What are the new medicines? What are the new recommendations from the folks that review statistics, that go through the data, that understand clinical trials? What are they recommending for people like me? I'm 42 years old. I have 2 young children. I have a wonderful husband and a family that loves me. And in order for me to stay here, I have to do my part. And then I have to educate my children, right? I have a young daughter and a son who too, because I have metastatic breast cancer, are more at risk for cancer in their future. So the work that I'm doing now is to eliminate their risk.
Now, does that come with, like you said, a certain diet sometimes, or can you eat as much of your regular, or you should be more careful eating more fruits, vegetables? Or it really doesn't bother your diet? You just got to take care.
Well, listen, as a people, right, we struggle with healthy foods, period.
That's right. We want some fried chicken, don't we?
In South Carolina, my people still eating pig feet and chicken wings.
Okay. We have to stop that. Because, listen, we ate that out of necessity.
Correct.
Because we could not afford anything better.
Correct.
But the minute we go to Popeyes, we're making a choice. Not to rag on Popeyes, but we'll go spend $20, $30 at Popeyes when we could have taken that and gone to a local farmer's market, a grocery store, and eating whole foods and vegetables. Eat the chicken every so often, but don't make that the 7 days a week.
Exactly.
Right? Cook your food. Right? I know we're busy, but I meal prep to the gods because what I feed my family not only is a language of love, but I know if they're eating what I'm cooking, we're doing better.
Right.
So eat whole foods. Eat real food. If it came out of a box, it's probably not the best. Cook or invest in cooking classes if you're not sure on what to cook. There's a lot of information out there.
Yeah, you can Google stuff now,
Listen,
right?
Google it. You can go get a cookbook at the library. You can ask a friend. There's so many ways that we can do better with taking care of ourselves with the nutrition. We have to feed our bodies for health, not just for fun.
That's a good point. Now, Dr. Belcher, what do you want people to take from this conversation?
I want
you to talk to the viewers.
Absolutely. I want you to take away, like Lakia said, always advocate for yourself. Know your body. Know what your body looks like. Ask your family about your family cancer history. Talk to your doctor. Get that patient-provider relationship. Talk about genetic counseling and genetic testing. And always, always advocate for yourself. You know your body better than anybody. And if the doctor's not listening to you, go to another doctor. Always know that doctors are in the position that they are in because there's something called a patient. So a doctor would not have a job if there wasn't a patient. And I say that not to be sassy, but to empower you, that you have a voice and you can always advocate for yourself. You know when something is wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Lakia, I'm going to ask you the same questions. What do you want people to take from this conversation?
One of the biggest things is, like Dr. Bailey mentioned, know your family history. And then please go to your doctors on a regular basis. A normal checkup can reveal some things in your blood. It can reveal some things that you're walking around with that you're unaware of. Having a good relationship with your doctor is super important to catch any debilitating disease, diabetes, obesity, cancer. Unfortunately, you have to do those preliminary procedures and your preliminary healthcare. You got to go through the right regimens. And when you become of age, if you don't have any cancer in your history, please get your mammogram. Do your scans. Know that there's options besides a traditional mammogram. For Black women, we have dense breast tissue because of the makeup of our bodies. You may need a 3D mammogram. Ask about those things so that your screenings are actually relevant to your body type. And again, if you're not being heard, find somebody else.
Now, what is a 3D mammogram?
A 3D mammogram takes a look at the inner scopes of your breast tissue more deeply than a regular mammogram. So not only is it going to see the top and the bottom, it's going to look within those cells in your breast tissue to determine any anomalies that may require further investigation. Let's become accustomed of getting top-notch care. Let's demand it. I always say to folks that I work with that I'm the most important person when I walk into the doctor's room, right? They're not getting paid if I'm not there.
So you're saying when I go get my mammogram, because no one's never mentioned a 3D to me, I can request to have
Absolutely.
That's
you need to be
care.
requested.
Yeah.
It is important for women of color to know that there are options. Our breast tissue, our makeup is different, again, than our white counterparts.
Right.
So we require a different level of
fatty
care.
Tissues and
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And a 3D mammogram is going to give you the best information. You can also ask for an ultrasound if the mammogram is unclear.
Breast MRI.
Breast MRIs if there's more going on. And you can also ask for blood work. You need a comprehensive blood examination will also indicate some things.
Excuse me, this is really good stuff that you can Was I just go mammogram, and if it comes out okay, besides one time some fatty tissues, but at that point I could have asked for a breast MRI.
Right.
I mean, I have good insurance, so why not take advantage of it, right?
It's important. If they tell you that you have dense breasts, that just means they cannot confirm nor deny that you don't have anything. So you just need to say, okay, I need another test to verify if I don't have anything. It just looks like you look at the sky and it's cloudy. That's what they see. They see nothing but clouds. They don't see a nice clear day. So if they say that you have dense breasts, say, okay, thank you, I need another screening.
Right. And call that screening out. I need a 3D mammogram, or I need a breast MRI, or I need an ultrasound. Any one of those three will give me a clear picture.
And I'm sure a lot of us, you know, just going in and they say that a lot of people are not asking them questions.
Yes.
So this is really a good conversation, a good show, and this needs to be talked about more. That's why I'm glad y'all came on here, not just for Breast Cancer Month, but this is a conversation we need to have quarterly on a regular.
Absolutely.
You know, Dr. Bailey, I love you, all the work you've done, and always keeping this awareness in our community. I think you do a fantastic job. And there's some other information we're going to put up on the screen to bring about some knowledge, some support, and some empowerment. So I will, this will be up on the screen, and I like this, the Weird Cancer Education Advocate Foundation. I've heard a lot about this, and this is also something that you can, you know, pull up on your telephone. It's one other question. What else would you like to say? A question I didn't ask you that you want to bring up?
I want to say that men also can get breast cancer. My uncle passed away from breast cancer in Erie, South Carolina, so that's very important. Men have breast tissue. It may not be as pronounced as we have it, but it's very important that men should take a look and really feel in their body. It's important for your partner to feel in your body, like Lakia said, her husband verified that something was different with her body. Know your body. Know that men can get it. It does not matter. And I also want to talk to the LGBTQ plus community.
Sure.
That also we understand that discrimination happens. If you do not feel comfortable going to your provider, have somebody go with you. I'll go with you. Lakia will go with you. But it's very important because they're finding that the community in itself are having advanced and higher rates of cancer because they are being discriminated against. They're not going to the doctor because of the judgment or the bias that's not being checked at the door. So I want to say to the community, we are here for you, and let's change the game as far as with African American women, LGBTQ plus community, Native Americans, Asians, even Caucasian, just everybody. You know, it's very important that we really just push ourselves and know that we have a voice and just empower ourselves because we know our bodies better than ourselves.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's important to get that information so we can save lives.
That's a good point. Do you have a telephone number that you can be reached?
Oh, Father.
Email. I mean, your email.
You can call me at 267-886-5471, and my email is long, so I apologize, but it's contact@drniaimanibailey.com.
Lakia, would you like to say, talk about something?
Sure. I'll close with saying that we have to take care of each other. If we don't demand better care, we won't get it. If we don't start asking for different scans and different tests by name, we're not going to get it. We are dying. We are dying at an alarming rate. And part of it is because we're being ignorant to our health.
I agree.
So we have to do the work. We got to ask the hard questions. We got to go to our appointments. And we have to get the answers so that we can live longer. Avoiding it is taking us out left and right.
And I agree, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm so busy, let me just change this appointment. No, go to your appointments. You're doing everything else. So I totally agree.
We will go to our hair appointment.
Yes, won't miss it.
Twice a month.
And
I like that. I like that.
And nails.
Right? And, you know, we'll make an appointment and go to happy hour. But we won't hold our doctors accountable. So if you need a friend, go. Y'all make an appointment together. Go to the appointment and then go to happy hour and have some mocktails, right? Because we need to cut down on our alcohol intake. But phone a friend. Make sure your girlfriends. Make sure your homies. Make sure your friends, your parents, your cousins, anybody you know. It's okay to ask the question. Is there anything I need to know about in our health history? Should we get this checked out? And then hold them accountable, right? Do your monthly breast exams. again, that was a lifesaver for me.
Right.
So I tell my friends, my sisters, any of my ladies and gentlemen that I meet that are willing to listen.
That's right.
Do your monthly breast exams. Pick a time, check yourself out, and don't be afraid to go in and get checked out.
Well, one thing I want to say, like you said, when I wouldn't have my blood work, I was, I'm in pretty good health, and he said, "Well, your cholesterol." So I'm like, "My cholesterol? I mean, I eat pretty good. I don't eat a lot of red meats. I eat a lot of salmon and vegetables. I'm not one to eat a whole bunch of junk. Drink plenty of water." And I'm like, "Why is my cholesterol high?" And it's like, I wouldn't have never thought. He's like, that can be just as dangerous as high blood pressure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was like, oh my gosh. And I eat a lot. I do cook with butter, and I'm thinking I'm cooking with no salt butter, and butter's butter. I'm like, but I do my olive oil. But all of a sudden I was buying this butter, no salt. So you do have to be aware and make sure you get your, your blood work done and all that. So
Absolutely.
when I go back, I should be pretty good because I'm not eating no butter, no holy nothing.
So you're going back for another blood work?
Oh yes, definitely.
All right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Make sure
I'll follow
they take
up.
those diabetes numbers
Definitely.
as well.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with that.
Good job.
I did.
Good
I had
job.
them do everything. Yeah. So I will go back for that mammogram though and ask for the 3-day.
There you go.
Yep, I appreciate that. We have 2 more minutes. So Miss Bailey, I'd like for you to close out.
Absolutely. I am just so blessed that we've had the opportunity to talk with Councilwoman.
Absolutely.
You are a force in this community. You always raise awareness to topics, if I can talk, topics like breast cancer awareness, Breast Cancer Action Month, and we really appreciate it. I mean, meeting Lakia is absolutely wonderful because just like you, she is a voice. She always stands up for our people. She stands up for our sisters. So the reasons why I love you both is because you stand up and you don't sit down and you stand 10 toes down on the ground and let them know that this is what's right and this is what needs to happen. So we appreciate it and I love you both.
Thank you so much. And it's important that, as Lakia said, that we as sisters, support each other. And there's certain conversations you just have to have. And this is one of them. As Breast Cancer Action Month, Breast Cancer Month is every month.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
but just bring
That's what I was
awareness
gonna
and
say.
some of the things that you both said, I will reiterate next week. And feel free to give me a call if you want to send another piece of literature. And I'll have you back on maybe next month.
Yes.
If you're not doing nothing. Because this is a
This is important. We'll make time.
Oh, I know Miss Bailey. I know you. Now I can tell.
Lakia don't play.
Okay.
She'll be here before me.
Okay. I really appreciate you both, sisters, and God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless
keep
you
me
too. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
Always.
You're
Thank
amazing.
you. Always. We'll be back with Community Crossfire. I appreciate both of y'all for coming on. This is the conversation that we need to have in our community. Bring about awareness anytime.